Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be doing like my first boxing analysis video, and we're going to be ranking these boxers on a pound for pound tier list, or a tier list with these categories on it. And yeah, if you are new to boxing, don't worry, this is kind of an intro video, but if you're also knowing a lot about boxing, then you can see my analysis. But yeah, let's get into it. I might do this video about once a year, so I could like update my tier list and stuff like that. So yeah, let's start off with a pound for pound list. First off, my criterias are based off pound for pound, which means like if everybody was the same weight class and skill level only, where would they be at? So I'm not going to be doing this about size. Let's start it off with Saul Canelo Alvarez. Alright, God tier. Last video I said it. I'm calling it now. He is not losing a boxing match until he retires. When he retires, he will be, I don't know, whatever wins. And one, losing to Floyd Mayweather only. And yeah, in that fight, I feel like Canelo was too young. And he just jumped the gun too much. But Floyd Mayweather is one of the best of all time. So yeah. Let's do Naoya Inoue, fearless boxer. He fights at a bantamweight, I believe. Fearless boxer against Nonito Donaire, who is a very big name in boxing for the lighter weights. He put on a great show. He exchanged very greatly, and his last fight against, I believe it was Jason Maloney. He just outboxed Jason Maloney. And Jason Maloney is a very great boxer. And he outboxed him. He basically made it look like he was an amateur, in my opinion. He couldn't land anything in that fight. Let's go with Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez recently won a lot of belts from a guy named Vasily Lomachenko. And Vasily Lomachenko, at the time, before he lost, he was people were putting him rank 1 pound for pound, and he was very skillful. He had beautiful footwork. He knew where to move. People were saying, hey, he could maybe beat Floyd Mayweather. But Teofimo Lopez, all he did really was he moved with him. And to me, that kind of just like, if you could figure that out, how to defeat a number 1 pound for pound and outbox him, that's like, you gotta be almost there. That was his only fight where I saw beautiful boxing. Other fights is just raw power. But he does know how to box, of course. But that's why I don't have him God tier yet. He will get there if I say if and when if he beats Gervonta Davis, who is Floyd Mayweather's like prodigy. But Lopez up there, and then I have Lomachenko right here, right behind him, just because of the loss. And also in the fight, Lomachenko barely threw any punches. I believe it was in the first 6 rounds, and yet claimed he won the fight, or at least drew it. But I don't see how you could give up 6 rounds of boxing and say I almost won. He gave up 6 out of 12 rounds. So I have him at almost there. All you got to do with Lomachenko is move with him. When he pivots, you pivot. Gervonta Davis, I have him pound for pound wise. I have him at I haven't seen him face anybody too top tier. And when he defeats guys, he defeats them with power. He has explosive hands. But they've been tested against not unknown guys, because he did face Leo Santa Cruz, who was a big name in the lighter divisions. But I want to see him up against like Ryan Garcia. I want to see him up against Lopez or Devin Haney, stuff like that. Moving on with Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, he has a lot of power, but he is not fluid. I don't know if that's the right word, but he doesn't move a lot. He's a standstill fighter. Basically, a standstill fight. When I say standstill fighter, I mean he stands there, he throws explosive punches, and he does not expect to get hit back. In his last fight against Luke Campbell did hit back, and he dropped Ryan Garcia. And Ryan Garcia isn't used to people having confidence in themselves and hitting back. So that's why I have him at needs work, because he needs to be able to move his head, work on your defensive game, and not just stand there and try to either counter people or be the one throwing bombs and not being like, oh, I need to get out, and not being worried about it. All right. Who else do we have? Devin Haney for the lightweight division. Devin Haney, I would have him above Ryan Garcia. He's like, He's high needs work, I guess. He's almost at but he's high needs work because he is a good boxer. I've seen him play a great defensive game against some other boxers, but not against people who have big names. Again, his last fight was against Gambosa, who Gervonta Davis knocked down in the 12th round. But Devin Haney against Gambosa, I didn't see anything there, really. Like, I didn't see anything too impressive. Let's go off with Aerospence Jr. Aerospence, great boxer, great fighter. I have him at God tier. I have him top 5, actually. Just he knows when to get in. His last fight against Danny Garcia was great. He got in, he got out. He didn't get punched a lot when he was in. Great fighter. He knows how to move with people. Aerospence Jr. versus Terence Crawford. This is an interesting fight. If I were to be like, oh, who would win? I would probably choose Aerospence Jr. I just like the way he moves, and I believe in his boxing ability that he could outbox Crawford, but Crawford is very powerful, and Aerospence Jr. has to watch out for that. Who else do we got? Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder lost to Tyson Fury. That was his last fight. I would have him needs work because pound for pound wise, he is not that great. He goes in, throws huge bombs, but doesn't roll with punches, doesn't think about, oh, I got to step back. All he does is just, if you get hit, you're going down. And if you're a guy like Tyson Fury, who is God tier to me, who moves and is very like hard to hit, it's going to be really hard. And when Wilder did hit him, Fury just rose up like a ghost. All right, Julio Chavez Jr. needs work. I am comparing these boxers with one another, so I'm not saying that like, oh, all like Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia are trash. No, I'm saying they're trash compared to Canelo and Errol Spence and Fury. But yeah, Julio Chavez Jr., he barely made the list. I just had him on here because of his name. That's really it. His last fights have always been like by DQ, him getting DQ'd. I think his last fight, he it got headbutted or something, and then he lost by points because when you headbutt in boxing, they stop the fight if the headbutt like makes you bleed and impacts your ability to fight. They stop the fight and then they just are like, hey, we'll count the rounds beforehand. Usyk. I have Usyk at almost there. He's a great heavyweight. I've seen him move. He's very fluid. I like the way he moves. Unlike Anthony Joshua, who's like, he knows how to stay away from his fighters. That's what I like. I don't like how he is too robotic. Like, to me, I feel like he is too robotic when boxing. He's not moving his head all the time. He gets in, he gets out, yeah, but he's not very fluid, I guess. Like, when boxing, it's like dancing. You gotta be moving, you gotta be fluid, you gotta be unpredictable, and I just don't see Anthony Joshua being unpredictable. Manny Pacquiao, I can have him almost there because before in his prime, of course, God's here, but Manny Pacquiao, he's pushing 40. No, he's like 42, I think, right now. But I haven't seen him fight in a while. He might fight Terence Crawford or Mikey Garcia. I just don't. I want him to win. He's a great fighter. The only thing that concerns me is his age. So I guess I'll just have him as almost there. He was God tier, but he just dropped. Just over time. Charlo is a great fighter. He knows how to move his head, how to defend, how to block punches, stuff like that. But the major flaw I see in his boxing level is when he throws flurries of punches and can't hit. He's very accurate when he throws like a jab or a right cross, but when he throws jab, jab, uppercut, uppercut, left, right hooks, all that, not like all at once, one after another, then I just don't see them landing. And he always tries to knock out his opponents, is what I see. He doesn't like bob and weave. He doesn't like get in, jab, get out, and move his head defensively. I just don't see that. Triple G, I honestly have Triple G above Charlo. Triple G is a great fighter. His last fight, purely accurate. He has great chin. I just don't have him up there at almost there. I don't know. I just can't put him on the same level as Lomachenko and Lopez. And then we have Artur. He's like, I guess. He's been dropped a couple times. He wins mostly based off of his power. And if he had power down there in like featherweight, like he magically became a lightweight or featherweight. And I believe he would be able to adapt if he did not have that much power. But right now, I've seen him dropped. I've seen him like not play defense too well, so that's why he's only at but I feel like he's very adaptable when he fights. Shakur Stevenson he's like high he's like right here, I guess, because Shakur Stevenson knows how to move. He very, very, very accurate with his punches. He gets in, he gets out, no problem. Beautiful fighter. His skill level is great. I don't have him up there too much because he is just an up-and-comer. I feel like, of course, in later futures, I would bet money Shakur Stevenson becomes God tier. But right now, this is just, like, he's at just because this is only the beginning for him. But other than that, yeah. This is my boxing pound for pound list in March of 2021. Maybe I'll do a March 2022 next year just to update the list, because boxing is very, not seasonal, but like very occasional. A lot of fighters are inactive right now because of COVID, but hopefully next year I could say, hey, COVID ended. But other than that, stay safe. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video.